Yo, welcome back to Minecraft Hacked. As you can see, I got started on my villager trading area, and I already got some nice enchanted tools from trading enchanted books. But let me tell you a bit more about this project. First of all, in a Hermitcraft episode, I heard that placing magma blocks in front of villagers will stop their pathfinding algorithm, and that could avoid some lag, so I wanted to use that. And I've actually never done the whole villager zombification and healing thing to reduce the trading prices. And that's why I placed these levers and pistons under them. When dropping the villagers down, they can be exposed to a zombie in the cave behind them. But I haven't done that yet because this trading area has been a real pain to get started. Let me tell you what happened. In a previous episode, I showed you my illegal villager breeding and collection area. I brought them over there because this is where I wanted to have the general trading area. And so I got started on that by building a first few test chambers. I had to experiment a bit on how to best place the levers and redstone and eventually ended up with this kind of basic design which I thought looked okay. I hope you enjoyed this little time lapse. But I didn't spend too much time yet building the whole area because I wanted to enchant some tools quickly. And for that we only need a few traders. So I decided let's actually get some villagers already. Luckily they are all in boats, so it was easy to bring them over and drop them in from above. That was the easy part. But my problem was the villagers would just not take a job. Usually when you place a job site near them, in this case a book lectern, the villager should become a librarian selling books. If they don't sell the book you want, usually you keep destroying the lectern and replacing it, which causes them to lose their job and regain it again with new random items. But as you can see, it just never worked. The damn villagers would just not take the job. I even tweeted about this because it's so frustrating to debug what is going on. Did you ever get annoyed at compiler or runtime errors being unclear about the cause? Try figure out why this villager won't take the job. This is driving me crazy. Any ideas? There were some people saying that maybe the magma block is the reason because it's stopping the pathfinding, so maybe they never discover the lectern, or maybe a bed is missing. But I created this enclosed area to test and this villager just never took this job. I don't think it's bad or pathfinding. Here the villager is free, has a bed and no magma block under the lectern. Still doesn't work. And so the best theory I have is that they became sentient and are mad at me for storing them in this condition. But as you can see, the villagers eventually got their job, and I think I kinda know now why. After getting very frustrated about it not working, I started to fly a lot of them further away out of range because I had the feeling the masses of villagers were the issue. But that took a lot of time and I wasn't sure it would work. I never actually finished taking them all away because while doing that I wanted to test something else. Instead of having them in boats, I actually walled off the area, destroyed the boats and let them walk around. I also placed a bed in the area which they all tried to pile up on when it got dark. But more importantly, this change seemed to improve the villagers taking their jobs. As you can see, sometimes they became a librarian. But still, trying to destroy and placing the lectern again, most of the time it didn't give them their job back. Sometimes it worked, but still mostly it didn't. This was not good enough for brute forcing good trades. So annoying. But the whole thing made me experiment in the villager area above. I started to place lecterns in there, which made a random villager become a librarian. And so I just tried to get a librarian with a good trade in there and then just kidnap them with a boat. This was also annoying, but it kinda worked. But soon after I realized this seems to have fixed the original issue. Suddenly the villagers in the trading area would become librarians when a lectern is placed in front of them. And so now I believe the issue really was the area up there. I'm not an expert here at all, but based on my observations and experiments, I feel like when they were sitting in boats and I placed a lectern, some random villager in a boat tried to claim it, blocking the villager down here from taking it. And so after walling off the area, which I guess makes them not pathfind anymore outside of it, and maybe a bed and a lectern placed in that area as well, kinda resetted them. I don't know, I would love to have a better technical explanation of this, but anyway, finally everything worked. I was able to search for enchanted books that I wanted, like Mending, Unbreaking, Feather Falling, and Fortune. Amazing. So this is how I got here. Finally some nice tools, and this means I could also now expand the area a bit further and add a few more traders. Nice. Now, we still haven't done the zombification and healing method, but for that we need a few more ingredients. For example, spider eyes, which can be turned into weakness potions for the healing process. Also, it would be nice to have an XP farm so that we can repair our tools with mending. And that's why I decided to build a spider farm next. In an earlier episode, when we were flying around, there was this spider spawner nearby in a cave. It turns out it was actually a double spawner. And like with the iron farm before, I actually planned this build in creative mode before and now used the imported schematic to build this farm in survival. And while I collect the wood for it and start building the farm, I wanted to tell you about something that happened when I did my internet-wide scan for Minecraft servers from last episode. If you paid attention to last video, you might have noticed something about log4shell. Or maybe if you are on my subreddit you saw this post, or if you have your own Minecraft server, maybe you saw these chat messages. Yeah, so I did not only scan for open Minecraft servers, I actually wanted to do some research on the state of log4shell patching of Minecraft servers. But before I tell you about the results of this project, I wanted to mention a few other things. A lot of people did not like me scanning the servers and testing for log4shell. I have received, I believe, 3 abuse reports sent to my server hoster. On the Reddit thread you can see people complain, and I also got tons of emails and DMs about it. Now, people were able to write me emails or DMs because I was transparent about my project. Theoretically, you could do all of this anonymously and never bother about anything, but I left my name so people can contact me. And this had good reasons, because I had no malicious intentions. For me, this was a project to practice more programming and software architecture, and at the same time doing research on the current state of log4shell vulnerability. By the way, I don't want to explain log4shell, there's more than enough content out there already, including videos I made myself, but also John Hammond who covered it related to Minecraft. So check out these videos if you don't know what I'm talking about. Anyway, this vulnerability is serious and it could be used to take over Minecraft servers or even install crypto miners and other malware. But that, of course, is not my motivation. I don't want to do anything unethical, so I wanted to somehow prove my good intentions. Now, depending on the country you are from, a vulnerability scan like this could already be illegal. It's very complicated. And even if it is legal in your country, doing an internet-wide scan, you might target a server from somebody in a place where it is illegal, and they could still sue you in their country. It's unrealistic, and as long as you never travel to that country, nothing probably happens, but theoretically, you could still break some country's laws. This is a bit of the unfortunate reality of doing actual real-life security research. It's a real problem for academia as well. And so that's why it was so important for me to make it as clear as possible that my intentions are for research purposes only. I hope it's clear that I cannot actually backdoor Minecraft servers and dump databases or whatever and in the end claim, oh, this was just research. If somebody would take me to court for this, I want to have objective proof that this was a research project. This is often very difficult to do in practice, and ethics is a very blurry line. I know there are people who have the opinion that what I did was not ethical at all. And that is totally fair and understandable. But for my own conscience, I believe it was fine. So here is what I did to prove my good intentions. First of all, I left my name and I'm a very public person. Clearly, I'm putting my professional reputation on the line. If I would do something very criminal, this could really hurt me and my career. So I think this is clear evidence that I don't have any malicious intent. But I did more than just that. Let's talk about log4shell specifically. Minecraft versions before 1.18.1 were vulnerable to log4shell, but it's not enough to just look at the reported versions of servers to determine if it's still vulnerable, because server admins could mitigate it in different ways. So to actually collect data on how many servers are still vulnerable, you have to actually trigger the vulnerability. And because log4shell can be used to get remote code execution, I wanted to have technical barriers in place to not exploit it too far. My JNDI LDAP endpoint was an actual server, but not a server that responds with a serialized Java object to trigger the code execution. I intentionally used a basic TCP server, which I found on GitHub. This way I could ensure I would never actually exploit the full capability of the vulnerability. Only the first part, the pingback, including some information, is executed. Some people find that too much already. I did try to get the Java version, operating system, as well as username and PWD, but actually the username lookup failed. And I think some people got scared from the PWD, and I want to make it clear, PWD does not mean password. I did not extract any passwords. PWD stands for print working directory, so it's the folder name where Minecraft is running. Some pointed out that this could contain the name of somebody, if it's their user's home folder, and sure, that is a bit of private data, but I believe it's useful for the research to learn more about what the server is running on. Is it running in Docker, on a Raspberry Pi, on a local PC, and so forth. Anyway, I do understand that people felt this project maybe overstepped the line, and of course, I'm sorry for that. I really didn't want to scare anybody, and I was hoping by being open and transparent and approachable about it, nobody would worry, but in the end, lots of people still got spooked. And so after engaging in various conversations, I decided to stop the scan. Also, I think I had enough data already to see a general trend. Alright. I know, what I talk about is so interesting, so you probably didn't pay attention to the Minecraft footage, but we finally prepared enough materials to build the double spider farm that I promised you earlier. As I mentioned, I prepared the blueprint in creative mode before, so we can easily build it. I started by lighting the mine shafts to disable the spawners and prevent other mobs from spawning, with the fly hack that is very easy of course. And then we can start placing the blocks. While I work on that, there's one more conversation I had because of this log4shell scanning that I really wanted to share. One day on Twitter, I got a DM from a verified account saying, "Hey Fabian, just saw that you're scanning Minecraft servers for a project. We love your channel. If there's anything we can do to help, just let us know. Mitch Smith, Managing Director." Turns out my scan was going over lots of Minecraft servers from Shockbyte customers. Shockbyte offers Minecraft server hosting. Some concerned customers contacted support and then they wrote me. I hope it's clear this is not a sponsored video and this is not an ad for their service. I have not tried their service. I don't know if they have good or bad customer service. I don't know if their Minecraft hosting is terrible or whatever. I only know they are one of the few who were positive about the project and shared with me lots of interesting information. And so I used this opportunity to ask them about security-related challenges around offering Minecraft server hosting and if they have any other interesting stories to tell. And this was very fascinating. So let me share what Mitch wrote me. Early multicraft vulnerabilities. Multicraft is the most common control panel used by server hosts. Originally, servers running under multicraft would by default run as the same user. This meant as a customer it was possible to install a Minecraft plugin that would run some code to read the multicraft config files, which included database credentials. In the early days of Minecraft server hosting, there were several hosters who did not patch this correctly and were hacked and ended up shutting down as a result. Fascinating. So Multicraft is a software some Minecraft hosting companies use. I always thought that these hosters developed their own server management software, but turns out the reason why there are so many hosting companies, you can just buy this very cheap license of Multicraft, rent some servers and start your Minecraft server business. And as Mitch told us, in the past Multicraft had some vulnerabilities that could be used to hack a lot of these small Minecraft server businesses. Of course, these are old vulnerabilities. Nowadays, they are probably pretty secure, having been exploited a lot in the past. Also nowadays, there's actually an open source alternative for that, Pterodactyl. It's a free open source game server management panel built with PHP, React, and Go, designed with security in mind. Pterodactyl runs all game servers in isolated Docker containers while exposing a beautiful and intuitive UI to end users. So yeah, lots of new Minecraft hosting businesses probably run on this here. Or maybe they became so mature that they even implemented their own solutions. Fascinating. Anyway, next topic. Malicious plugins and mods. There are many malicious plugins posted to websites such as Spigot and Bucket, which are the main places to download Minecraft plugins. They are often posted as new plugins, but also popular plugin author accounts get hacked and genuine plugins are replaced with malicious versions. Yeah, this sounds very typical. Malicious apps exist in every area. For example, malicious apps in the Android Play Store or malicious browser extensions being distributed in the extension store. Sometimes even legitimate extension developers sell their extensions and the buyer then injects some malicious stuff. So of course, this also happens with Minecraft plugins. The types of malicious plugins range from mining cryptocurrency to sending denial of service attacks. And apparently they built a system that tries to automatically detect and block malicious plugins. And of course, when a plugin is known to be bad, the hash or checksum can be used to block it in the future as well. Suddenly, a company like Shockbyte or all the other Minecraft hosters face the same issues like malware on normal PCs. And now they have to re-implement and reinvent something like antivirus. In part, they have become an antivirus company. Antivirus specifically to detect malicious Minecraft plugins. And of course, that's a bit of an impossible cat and mouse game. It's so interesting. Next topic. That one is actually very interesting. When you rent a Minecraft server, you often pay depending on how much RAM you want. And apparently, in the past, there were unlimited RAM hacks for some Minecraft hosters. Most hosts let customers upload their own server executable, a custom jar. Around 2015, a RAM hack was distributed on hack forums, which would allow users to create a server with as much RAM as they want, even if the plan they purchased had less RAM. The way it worked was the host would launch the RAM hack jar on, for example, a 256 MB RAM server, but the RAM hack jar would simply spawn a new Java process running the actual Minecraft server with any amount of RAM. It's so dumb and clever. When you look up how to run your own Minecraft server, you might come across the command line to execute the server jar, and here you can also change the RAM used for Java. It's a command line argument. And some Minecraft hosters relied on that to limit the customer's RAM. So this custom RAM hack jar would simply launch a new Java process with a much higher memory allocation. Boom, unlimited RAM for your cheap server. Nice. And now we come to log4shell, the main topic of this video. Both the Minecraft client and server software use log4j library, and we were vulnerable to log4shell. Minecraft is by far the largest game we host, so this was immediately a very serious issue for us. Both because we need to protect our customers, but also a concern for the health of the game in general. Our system will update all versions of each server type every 15 minutes, so as soon as the developers of each server type patched this issue, it was available immediately to our customers. However, in the meantime, for a more immediate solution, we modified the log4j config with startup parameters. For 1.17, we could disable message pattern lookups with the parameter below, -d log4j format message no lookups true. For 1.16.5 and below, this was not available, so we defined a log4j config that uses the message no lookups on all message patterns. Makes sense. If you are a Minecraft hoster business, log4shell is a scary vulnerability and you have the responsibility to fix or mitigate the issue. Okay, the spider farm is basically done. Here is an epic time lapse building it. Originally, I had planned a big sorting and collection system below, but I was running low on materials and I was a bit too lazy to build that part. I was just happy that it was finally operational for at least some spider eyes and, more importantly, the XP. Anyway, you waited long enough now. I guess it's time to have a look at the results from my log4shell Minecraft server research. I've gathered the most interesting data in this Google Sheet. I started my scanner around the 17th of February, so over 2 months after the very public disclosure of the log4shell vulnerability. In total, until mid-April, I found roughly 60,000 Minecraft servers. But that's not the whole internet. For reference, Copenheimer, the infamous Minecraft server scanner, apparently knows about 210,000 active servers. I'm just a small player here. Also, I mentioned earlier that I stopped the log4shell scans at some point, so this only ran until the end of February. And in that time range, I only had scanned 15,000 servers. But 826 of them triggered a log4shell pingback, which means at the end of February, basically at the start of March, over 2 months after the vulnerability was officially fixed, over 5.5% of all Minecraft servers were still vulnerable. But the number is not very precise. First of all, the number also includes vulnerable clients that were connected to the server at the time of the test. But I know from the data that most servers had no active players when I tested, so clients should be a small number of it. But nevertheless, it would lower the number of vulnerable servers a bit. However, I triggered the test with a chat message, so if I cannot join, if the server is whitelisted, I cannot test. There might be other more hidden and silent ways to get a payload into the log, maybe even despite the whitelist. So my guess is this number is a lower bound, likely there's a lot more. Now, I wanted to know who is hosting these vulnerable servers. I tried to figure out if these are private servers from individuals hosting it on their own rented servers, or if they paid for a hosting service. I tried to figure that out through the IP address, looking at who is entries to see which company or organization owns this IP. And to my shock, I found 83 vulnerable servers by a big Minecraft server hoster. A professional Minecraft server hoster was not able to mitigate the issue for their customers. Sorry for censoring the name. I know public shaming can be useful to get security issues fixed, especially serious ones like this one, but I think I have 2 good reasons why I don't tell you. First of all, I have evidence that they don't care about security issues, and companies who do not care about security issues often care a lot about PR and legal stuff, and I don't want to take any chances. But the second reason, and more important one, is I did not scan the whole internet. Maybe they just got unlucky and there could be lots of other vulnerable Minecraft hosters out there. Also, you see here, for example, Hetzner, Linode, OVH, Microsoft and Amazon. These are general purpose server hosters. And here it's not possible to say if these are individual private customers who run their own Minecraft servers, or if a company like Shockbyte is a business customer of that infrastructure. So while I have proof that this censored company didn't care, I have no way of associating these kind of servers with businesses. And so, for example, I cannot verify that Shockbyte really fixed and mitigated the issue. And so I find it somewhat unfair to single out that company just because they got maybe unlucky. Anyway, I don't know. Also, some of these companies are ISPs, which indicates that some people are hosting servers at home. And by the way, the other redacted names, redacted for privacy or whois privacy protection, I didn't censor that. These IPs are just using a whois privacy service to hide the real owner of it. And lastly, do you notice this virus column here? I actually used the VirusTotal API to check if the IP addresses were flagged for being malicious. I only included scan results from after the time log4shell was publicly known. The theory being that malware could have been installed through the vulnerable Minecraft service. It's just a theory, but you see here the numbers. And there were not that many cases. But VirusTotal only flags IPs, for example, if they are serving malware. This doesn't mean these servers weren't hacked and had cryptominers or so installed. Anyway, I have some more statistics for you. So, like the previous list, all of that data relates to the servers that were vulnerable. And using the log4shell payload, we could figure out the operating system version. So the large majority of vulnerable instances were Linux servers. Generic Linux servers, but some Linux versions were specifically tagged by the cloud providers. So 19 were Linux AWS instances, 16 were by OVH, 9 from Linode, There's also some Raspberry Pi in there, but the Windows 10 one is probably the most interesting because it's very likely these are desktop PCs from people. So either they were hosting servers at home on their desktop PC, or these are actual clients and players. Now next we can have a look at the home directory of where Minecraft is running. This only resolved on Linux hosts, so I guess 385 vulnerable servers were maybe Windows. But it could also be a container environment or another stripped down Linux environment that just didn't have the environment variable set. But here it is interesting that we find a lot of servers running in /data. And I believe this is because these servers use the popular Docker Minecraft server project. This Docker container is loading all the data into /data. Similarly, the root path here indicates that this is also probably a container environment, but here a custom one. And lastly, here are the reported Java versions, but I don't know, not super interesting. Yeah, and that's it. These are the results from my Minecraft server scanning projects. Sorry again for everybody who got scared by the chat messages. Sorry for all the companies who had to deal with scared customers writing to support. But thanks to everybody who reached out and asked questions, and especially thanks to Shockbyte for providing a lot of insight into the Minecraft server business. Cool. While we talked so much, I also gathered a few levels here at the spider farm. So let's head back to base because I want to build a creeper farm next. Oh, wait, what happened over there? Do you see those trees? Why are they missing leaves? That is weird. It only seemed to be on this island here. Oh, look on this side over here. There seems to be a cave entrance and some zombies are trying to defend it. I wonder what's inside. Let's explore this next time.